Avengers Assemble! Today we are looking at the Thor 3 3/4 inch figure line, and this is Smash Volstagg. Now if you're following along with these reviews in order, this is the third and final piece to the Warriors 3, and probably the most prominent of the three in the movie. I feel like he had a lot more lines and a lot more personality than the other two. I mean, Hogan barely had any lines, and Fandral wasn't all that big of a influence on the movie. But I feel like Volstagg was at least vocal enough to kind of command your attention a little bit in the film. This silly accessory is indeed really silly on this one. It's the ram with, I guess, ram heads on it. It's really a strange little weapon here. A big block with these two things on the side. You push in the back lever, and they rotate counter to each other. I don't really know what that's supposed to do, but it does it. You can put it in his hand, but it looks ridiculous, and you can't really use the action feature when it's in his hand. You'd have to move this arm, I think it would just fall out all the time. He does, however, come with his movie-accurate accessory, the axe. This is really nicely done. There's some detail on the handle of it here. And the axe itself is cool. It's like 2 or 3 separate little pieces kind of sandwiching together. Looks really brutal. The coloration's pretty nice. The one thing I'm confused about is over here on both sides of it there's a little bit of brown paint, and I can't tell if it's spillover or if it's supposed to be on there. I really don't know. Anyone else who has this figure, let me know if yours has something like this. I really don't know if it's paint error or if it's an intentional thing I didn't notice in the movie. Still well done, he holds it fine, and it works. Now going through our Avengers reviews, this is the first of 2 characters we have that have played other Marvel movie heroes. I can't remember the name of the actor right off the top of my head right now, but it's the same actor who was Frank Castle in Punisher Warzone, which is really odd. I mean, it looks nothing like him when you get all that beard on there and the gut. I don't know, I would have been more likely to believe it was the dwarf from Lord of the Rings, which is basically what this character kind of comes down to being. I do like that they gave him a different style body. It definitely has more of the build of the character, which I have to say was a really awkward build. It was chubby without being fat, like still muscular and able to kick butt, but not being as thin or well built as the other guys. It kind of came off as awkward in the movie. It's like they couldn't decide which one they wanted to do. I will say the application of the hair to the face looks a lot more realistic than it did in the movie. That was some pretty bad fake facial hair in the movie, but it looks fine in figure form. The hair in the movie I think was a little more red, and the camera's not picking up the more reddish tones of it. It's kind of looking more totally brown, but I think it needs to be a little more on the red side, or at least the later brown side. The face is a decent representation of the actor. Unfortunately, with all that facial hair, you're not going to be able to use it for a kit bash of a movie Punisher figure anytime soon, if that was what you were hoping for. The costume's well detailed, it has a lot of facets to it. There's all different layers of everything, the armor and the cloth. Some good painting details if it is a little bit sloppy. It's overall a good version of the movie character. And a soft rubber skirt down here at the bottom, which will allow him to keep his articulation. His pants and his boots with a nice wrapping around it that looks pretty nice. Similar to the Iron Man figures, this guy's got some pretty bent up knees. They're turning inwards and makes him really awkward to stand and kind of hard to pose. For articulation, he has a ball jointed head. He gets side to side pretty well. Up and down is pretty hindered between the hair and the beard, even though those are a softer rubber, they're thick enough that they impede. Is the ball jointed mid-torso, which he gets a good range of motion out of. Pin socket shoulders. Bend and rotate at the elbow. Rotate at the wrist, even though it's pretty far down here because it has that cuff included in it. Standard movie style ball hinge legs. Rotate at the upper leg. Bend the knee at 2 points. And bend and rotate at the ankle. So here we have the whole set of the Warriors 3. And they look pretty good together. They're all pretty similar in height. Volstagg is a little bit shorter than the other two, as should be. I think he was really helped out by having to have a unique body unlike all the other figures in the line, which kind of go off a pretty similar form. I think I made the same point with all of these Warriors 3, and even Odin. If you're a fan of the movie, if you really like it, then they're worth picking up, and I can recommend them to you. The figures themselves, as far as being figures, are fine pieces. They're good. They're well made. They look like what they're supposed to. But, you know, if you're just a casual fan, or not that much of a fan, but you demand a movie figure, you could just stick with the main character or two. Now, as we're wrapping up the Warriors 3, I'll use this point to throw in the fact that there's one figure that I'd like to have with these three guys that I have not been able to track down, and that is Sif. Sif came out in Wave 4. Now, these guys are in Wave 2. Wave 2 took a long time to hit stores. Captain America was almost on Wave 3 by the time we got Thor Wave 2, and that's a big time difference. And as of now, I've mostly only ever seen up to Wave 2 in stores. Some places haven't even gotten past Wave 1. I've heard reports of people finding Wave 3 at Target, which gives me some hope that maybe we'll see them on the shelves soon, some of those figures. And I just barely missed, by a matter of probably hours, finding a case of Wave 4 at Toys R Us. I actually walked in, and all of the repainted Thors and Lokis were sitting there, and it was missing Sif. And the reason I'm ranting on about this is just because it is a figure that I really would have liked to review along with the series that I'm probably not going to have the chance to. You can pick her up on eBay, but I'm just not willing to pay the price that they charge on eBay for that figure. I want it, but it's not worth the premium you have to pay on eBay for it. So, to anyone asking, where's the Sif? That's my answer. But to get back on track, I do recommend Volstagg. He's a cool figure. And especially if you're getting the full set of Warriors 3. I almost have to recommend them all as a collective unit, because you can't really have one without the other two. This has been another Outside the Box review. Stay tuned as we continue to count down to Avengers.